Comments by state board members. Mr. McMillan.
Okay. So this whole home, and I could have brought it up because you brought it up during your superintendent report, but this whole homeschooling thing is really quite disturbing. And one of the things that disturbs me about this is the disingenuousness of the discussion. Because we have people like the Senate Education Committee Chair, Dana Polhanke, saying that when asked about increasing regulations beyond registration, she said, not on my watch. Well, we got Attorney General Nessel that says that she wants to do it because the foster care system didn't do their job, and apparently homeschool parents, there was some abuse going on at a homeschool home, or that actually it sounds like the foster care system, but certainly a mere registration, a list of people, is not going to have anything to do or will not help prevent what Attorney General Nessel is talking about. So she's already kind of said the quiet part out loud. She basically said, we want this list so that we can have unwarranted home entry without a warrant, warrantless home entry into homeschool, into this particular targeted group. And we want to be able to go in there, and there's a lot of bad things happening all around the state potentially in some houses, but we have a legal system that says you have to have a warrant before you go in. However, because of this one instance, some in the state want to be able to barge in and bust the door down, and I'm not being, it's not hyperbolic. I mean, if they knock on the door and they say, no, I don't want you to come in, and there's all kind of reasons not to have them in. I hope I'm not the only one, but there's to have the government come into your house. I don't know, there's a book called 3 Felonies a Day. Can't remember the guy's name that wrote it, but I mean, if the government wants to get you, they're going to find something. And so there's just, without warrant, they shouldn't be coming into your house. And so I just think that it's going to go beyond registration. That there's they're either naive or they're being disingenuous for anybody to say all we want to do is have a list. It's going to go significantly further than that. They're going to either want to know exactly what's being taught, or they're going to want entry into the houses. And so I think that this is a real problem. I guess I just wish that the debate would be sincere, because we have one of the leaders in the education area saying, I promise you on my watch it'll never happen, and that's only a few years. But we know that in other instances, registration leads to confiscation, registration leads to getting, rounding up. I mean, registration is the first step, and it's not the only step. And I wish that the debate were clear that, it's going to be a lot further than registration. The desire that the Attorney General has already articulated said that she wants warrantless home entry into this targeted group of people. And I think it's dangerous. I think that could be the next group could be next. I mean, who knows who the next group is? That there's a target for warrantless home entry. So that's my initial comment, or my comments on this whole, some push by some people to simply register so we know where they are. I think that's completely disingenuous or naive, one or the other, but we know it doesn't stop there. Anybody that has half a brain realizes it doesn't just stop there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. McMillan. Ms. Tilley.
I just want to, because you mentioned the foster youth, I just want to say that this has been an issue in the community that has been talked about for a while, about being able to track them, because they're bouncing from schools to homes, and sometimes there's issues where they've run away because of things that have happened. They want to better track them. I don't know about the other end of it, but as far as with the foster youth, that is a real issue.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tilly. Ms. Snyder?
I'll just echo what you guys both have said, and I wish we could separate them so that that problem is solved and they do have access to an education just like everybody else, which we've been talking about. My resolution that I presented this morning, I wish that we would consider it. I don't think it's an issue that's going away. I think students have a constitutional right and reasonable expectation to privacy. I do. I've been very clear too and forthright with the fact that, you know, it's oppressive to ask a student that has left the public education system for whatever reason they've left to then ask them to register with that same system. We wouldn't do that in any other facet of society. And so to give people the freedom to exercise choices that work best for them is extremely important. Just because we're one of 11 states doesn't mean the other 39 are doing it the right way. I don't think we need to approach it from that perspective. And I just really want to push back on things we've talked about at this table. Public education is not safer than homeschooling, and that means it's incumbent upon us to address that. There are multiple pieces of evidence that we've discussed here at the board table time and time again that we do nothing about, that prove public education needs a safety overhaul before we can claim that homeschool leaves students more vulnerable. So sexual abuse epidemic, where we refuse to register school officials who've assaulted students so they can be rehired elsewhere. Being concerned with requiring BTAM training, which we talked about recently at the local level due to resources it would take the department to audit them. And yet here we are thinking we have the resources to audit every family's educational choice in the state. That's unreasonable. And countless stories that violate a safe learning environment across the state, which I don't think we're done with hearing yet. So when you use the words disingenuous, yes, I think it is very disingenuous to suggest that we need to audit families and their educational choices because of safety, especially private and parochial schools, right? What ends up happening in other states that register students in these buckets, as you say, is we end up overseeing their curriculum. They're making specific choices to not be in public education so that they can access a curriculum we're not choosing to administer to them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you start to ask them to jump through hoops, and you're really interfering and discriminating against their right to exercise educational freedom. So, I don't think the topic is going away, and I certainly don't think that safety in public schools is something that we should shy away from. I think we should be spending our time, energy, and effort in that, because that's what we have a constitutional authority over.